It's weird looking at yourself up there like that. Excellent. So just to kind of continue on Chinthya's presentation, you heard in our keynote speech from Catherine, we know that financial institutions have a lot of the same challenges. We know that there are similarities between financial institutions, but we also know that each financial institution is its own unique entity, right? So when we talk about how NoCode can enable you to own your automation, own your workflows, our idea at Creatio is not to have you change your workflows to the way that Creatio operates, but to be able to leverage our platform so that it enables you to work the way that you live. So as we're moving through, we know that banks are challenged with a lot of different things, right? You got regulations, you have to worry about the fees that you charge. But as we have more and more conversations with banks and other financial institutions, there's three common themes that we see. We see increasing competition. Chinthya had mentioned, we got a lot of neobanks and fintechs. We don't know how long before Amazon gets into the financial services space, and everybody wants to do business that way. The other thing that we see is that changes in consumer behavior, right? I'll use the Amazon example again. We can go on Amazon Prime, I can research products, I can compare them, I can read reviews, I can choose the one I want, and with one click, I can have that delivered to my house, same day. That's the type of expectations that we have now as consumers, right? We expect that. I also expect to manage my money that way. I expect to be able to access anything that I want at any given time, and with a click of a button, move through that process seamlessly. The other thing that we notice is that employees, right? We talk a lot about customer experience. We talk a lot about consumer journeys, but one thing that you should never overlook is your employee experience as well. As we're getting more of a younger generation coming into the workforce, they expect to have tools that's going to enable them to take care of their customers in a way that's beneficial. And if we are not providing those tools to employees, that does translate to customer experience, because if you have bad employee experience, that then translates to a bad customer experience. So let's dive into that a little deeper. So we know Neo is coming, right? Chinthya had mentioned. If you look at organizations like Chime and Ally, they are adding more customers per month than large traditional banks like Wells Fargo, Bank of America. They are adding more customers per month than some of these large financial institutions. One metric that is scary up there to me is from McKinsey up here in the right-hand corner. By 2025, fintechs and neobanks can affect up to 40% of traditional banking revenue. So how do you stay ahead of that, right? That's disruptive. You have to have technology that's going to enable you to stay ahead of that disruption. But not only stay ahead of that disruption, but also give you the opportunity to do a little disrupting of your own. So next, if we think about changing consumer behavior, I had mentioned that's the experience that we want to have in everything that we do in life, right? It has to be effortless, it has to be consistent, and if we don't have that, we have other options, right? We can switch. It's never been easier to switch banks, right? Or switch your financial institution. I can go, online and switch very effortlessly. So again, if you're not staying ahead of that curve, staying ahead of that changing consumer behavior, you stand the chance of your customers migrating to other areas. And we can see here, we have Karen Mills, a senior fellow at Harvard Business School. They will flock, they will leave if you're not providing that level of service that they're expecting. We talked about that employee experience. So not only does that translate, if you don't have happy employees, you won't have happy customers, but also we want to make our employees as efficient as possible, right? And if you think about in the banking industry, just by show of hands, or just shout it out, how many different systems do your frontline employees have to interact with for a single customer transaction?
More than 7.
More than 7. Yes. Yeah. If you think about that, more than 7 systems that they have to access, they can spend up to an hour a day just switching between applications. Talk about like loss of productivity. You add that up over a week, you almost lose a full day of productivity by employees switching between applications just to manage, a single interaction. So we also show that, because you have these disparate systems and siloed data, if you think about it, where is your customer data housed, right? You have your core, you have your lending systems, you have your card systems. All of that data is in different areas. And maybe the reporting within those systems, does not roll up. So your executive team, your management team has a hard time making decisions on how to make improvements in process. So they lack the visibility into all of these different systems. So if you can't connect that data and leverage that data, right? Because it's not that we have a data problem, we have what do we do with that data, right? How do we analyze that data and improve our operations? So management still lacks visibility if you don't have a way to bring that all together. And so we at Creatio believe that there's a way out, and it's through NoCode workflow automation. So what does NoCode allow you to do? It allows you to apply a hyper-personalized approach. Customers do not want to be considered a account number, right? Like I'll date myself a little bit here, but anytime I went to the bank, I was, what is your account number? Or give me the last 4 digits of your account number. They didn't know who I was. I couldn't just come in and say, I'm Eric. Oh, hi, Eric, welcome. They asked me for an account number. We also think about invisible and seamless workflows, and we'll talk about those just in a second. How do we interconnect all of those workflows together? Because we know that when you go through any workflow within a bank, it's connected to different systems, different groups, different people. We have to make sure that that process is seamless and it does not cause a breakdown in that workflow. We also want to consolidate the applications that we access, right? So we heard seven different systems that we have to interact with. How do we consolidate that and make it simple, right? To have one unified workspace for employees that's going to increase productivity, therefore increase the customer satisfaction as well. And then finally, how do we change and innovate faster? We just said Neo's coming, and these people are modern, right? They're building all of the modern conveniences within managing your money. So we need to be able to stay ahead of that, right? If we don't, we run the risk of losing our customers. So let's talk a little bit about the hyper-personalized experience, right? So when you know your customers and you're able to build a robust profile, right? So I understand, what their goals are. How do they manage their money? What does their household look like? When I understand this, I'm able to provide relevant offers to my customers, right? Relevant offers, not taking an approach where, hey, we have the lowest mortgage rate. Okay, but I'm not looking for a mortgage. That's great, good for you. But if I know that, I've just, come out of university and, landed my first job, I may be looking for a home. So that's where we can apply a hyper-personalized experience to take them from beyond being just an account number to being an individual that we understand and we know how to get them the right message at the right time. And that's important. So just-in-time personalization. So again, Being able to aggregate all of that data in a unified platform, so we have that understanding. We're able to understand where they've been, what are their expectations. We understand their behaviors. We can leverage in Creatio AI and machine learning to predict what is that next best action or what is that next best offer for this individual, and be able to present that in a way that's visual. Hey, by the way, this person might be interested in this particular product. And then finally, being able to, based on that profile, deliver content that is relevant for that specific individual. So bringing that all together in a nice interface is essential. We have to understand our customers. We talked about invisible and seamless workflows. If you think about, let's just take a loan application, right? How many different areas does that have to touch within your organization? Someone goes online, submits an application, it's going to go through an approval process. It might go, if it gets accepted in the customer acceptance, loan origination, underwriting, customer onboarding. How many different processes are associated with that? Well, if there's a breakdown in any step of that journey, it causes a bad experience. One, for you internally, because you'll have things fall out of that process. Secondly, if the process is delayed, it will also give a bad customer experience as well. So that's really where we at Creatio leverage NoCode to interconnect these workflows, right? So it's just a matter of defining what you want to map out in that workflow and connecting it, right? So it follows a path, it follows a journey, nothing falls through the cracks. It ends up being a better experience for you as an organization, but also a better experience for your customers. Now, we know that also the only thing constant in business is change. So at some point, this process is going to be modified or need to be modified. And if you don't have nimble technology like NoCode, that could be a cumbersome process, right? You have to get developers involved. You have to get different IT teams involved. Well, with NoCode, you're able to just modify this by dragging and dropping and interconnecting that process, and then monitoring that process to ensure that that workflow is flowing through. And also when we're executing on that process, how many people, let's say in that loan origination or loan application process, how many people have an approval process in that where you're using emailing somebody for an approval? Yeah. If that person hasn't checked their inbox, or they're on vacation, or what happens? What happens at that point? It just gets lost there, right? Well, when you have a fully executed workflow, you're able to ensure that there's no breakdown in that process. So they need to be invisible, they need to be seamless, and it needs to just flow in a manner that's going to enable you to make sure that none of that falls through the cracks. A consolidated composable approach, right? So if we think about the ability to build applications and build workflows, with the Creatio platform, you can think of it as Lego blocks, right? We can just take the Lego blocks that we want and put them together and compose an application or compose a workflow in a way that is going to increase the productivity, but also ensure that the employee performance is up to what it needs to be. So whether that's building a compliance process or an onboarding process, and we'll have a look at one of those in just a minute. So if we think, this is a scary slide, I always get scared when I see it, but I'll do my best to simplify it for you. So if we think about a workflow map for financial services, on the left-hand side, we see the key processes. So that could be your customer engagement processes, your CRM, marketing, sales, and service. Within there, there's going to be sub-processes or subsystems that you may need to access. You have front office processes, customer onboarding, lending, card operations, and each one of those have a separate segment underneath it. And then you're moving to the middle office and back office applications, so your corporate services, right? So if you're a bank, you have a pretty diverse set of employees. You have branch locations, you have headquarter locations, service center locations. You also need to be able to manage them as your internal customers as well. So we can think of the key processes and all of the sub-processes that are falling under each one of those categories. That's a lot, right? That's a lot to manage. Well, that's where having a platform like Creatio can bring all of that together in a single unified workspace. And within that workspace is where you're also going to have process engine that's going to be able to drive those processes and interconnect those processes. You're going to have no-code capabilities that will enable you to develop. I see my friends from Banco GYT back there that leverage the no-code capabilities probably better than anybody I've seen. It's amazing what you guys have been able to accomplish with the Creatio platform. You'll also have the ability to leverage AI and machine learning. So again, doesn't matter where that data is stored, it's all brought into the platform. You're able to analyze it, utilize that data to recommend the next best action or the next best offer for those particular customers. And then finally, we know that integration needs to be smooth as well. We're never going to be your core banking system. We're never going to be your lending system. We're never going to be your card system. So the ability to integrate seamlessly with those other applications, we have to make that very easy as well. At Creatio, we have open APIs that can be leveraged in virtually any environment. So we act as this, we will call it an engagement layer over those particular applications. So we're not toggling between applications. To break that down a little further, this is an example of a customer onboarding process. And if we think of these different stages, sales, KYC, credit, legal, operations, each one of these colored areas is a different system that you have to access. Well, this is where Creatio brings it all together. We're able to build this workflow in a single unified workspace. So again, taking all of that data from those disparate systems, bringing it in-house and driving it through workflow automation. And this is an example of our application hub, right? So remember when I said Legos, right? These are building blocks. That's all it is. You're able to easily assemble your applications in your workflow by leveraging pre-built components, right? So you take what you need, you interconnect them together, and it's really going to enable you to develop faster. It's going to enable you to address specific requirements, whether those are internal or customer requirements, and then also have that fully automated. So again, this is the application hub. Those are your Legos. Whatever you need, you just drag and drop that into your application and workflow. Fast innovations, right? So again, how do we stay ahead? You have to be able to innovate faster. We heard, in a couple of the keynotes that, what was the Mario Andretti phrase? If you're feeling comfortable, you're not going fast enough, right? So we have to be able to innovate quicker, faster, and stay ahead of, our competition, stay ahead of the consumer demands, and also, be able to bring our unique value to market quicker. So an example of this is one of our customers, OTP Bank. They're one of the largest banks in Central Europe. They have 1,500 branch locations, 2,000 users, and they support 16 million customers. So the pandemic hit. Obviously, those 1,500 branch locations had to shut down. So they needed to come up with a way to create an online lending system. So they have competitors within their market. They have other large banks that also are in the same boat. How do we go from branch support to online? So OTP Bank chose Creatio because they were able to develop this lending application in less than 4 months. They had a working MVP in less than 4 months. So they were able to get to market quicker, support their customers. Their nearest competitor took an additional 6 months on top of that. So 10 months to develop their online lending application. So think of the competitive advantage that gave to OTP, right? They were able to support while their competitors weren't able to develop quick enough, So that's how you stay ahead. Stay ahead of the competition, stay ahead of the disruption. Who knew? Global pandemic. But they were able to leverage it. So OTP Bank is a great case, for us as an organization. So to kind of, bring it to full circle here, you can support your digital transformation, right? So what are the benefits of NoCode in owning your application? You could talk about how to increase that customer experience, right? Give them the experience that they're expecting, the experience that we all want. We all know, like I said, I expect to be able to order anything with a click of a button now. I expect the same thing with my with how I manage my money. I also want them to know me, right? If I ask that question, what is the number one thing that banking customers want? What would you say? Yeah, they want to know. They want you to know them. They want you to understand them. Followed by give me good advice on how to manage my money. Give me a good return on any of my my investments, and also help me give me advice, right, on how to become more we'll call it wealthy, right? How do I become more wealthy? Operational excellence, right? So again, taking all of that complexity that we have in financial institutions, right? Again, it's a complex environment. A lot of banks have been around a very long time with a lot of systems that have been, might be decades old, but you can't get rid of them, right? Because that's where your data is. That's where your customer data is. You can't get rid of them. So how do we take that and make that experience better? And what are the benefits that's going to come from that, right? So when we increase operational efficiency, you can recognize your goals. So whether that's increasing your average deposit amounts, increasing your average loan amount, you're able to become more efficient and be able to adapt to that very quickly. And then finally, again, you got to stay ahead. You got to stay ahead. It's coming. Amazon will take over everything eventually. So you got to stay ahead of that. You got to be able to deliver faster. You have to deliver better, and you have to stay ahead of that. So we feel that the way to do that is leveraging a technology like NoCode, right? We have some statistics that are out there. By 2024, over 70% of new application development will be done leveraging NoCode technology. And with that, I will wrap up my presentation. Hopefully that was beneficial to everybody. And I will be turning it back over. You're gonna get tired of Chinthi and I today, but I will turn it back over to Chinthi.
Thank you.